Everything is all white. You get it? That was funny. Kind of funny. Not like my best jokes. Probably Adrian beat his son is my best joke. But yeah, it's a you know, have you ever just I've become very good at talking without knowing what I'm going to say next on here, except for right now. I feel like I know because I have a topic talking about talking what I don't know, talking about talking when I don't know what I'm going to talk about. That's hard to say. It's hard to talk about. Interesting. I considered getting a Tic Tac before this video, but I figured you won't smell my breath anyways because YouTube hasn't gone through a huge update like that in a long time. Today, woke up at 6:30 on my own. I just woke up in my bed and I thought to myself, well, I don't want to oversleep and then skip one of my classes. And then it turns out that my class was canceled and I didn't even need to go, but I went anyways, and then I realized I didn't need to go. Then I walked back to my class and informed somebody that the class was canceled that I recognized from the class, and they said, well, I'm going anyways. And I'm like, okay, cool. They were just going to do work in there, so it's a nice and quiet place to go. Oh, and then on my way out of the class, I found my roommate in another class that was nearby, and I just walked into that class and sat down at his table and just hoped that they wouldn't notice. But then the teacher asked me, hey, are you new? I'm like, yeah, I'm not in this class. And then I got kicked out. It was a solid 2 minutes I lasted in there. It reminds me of that one SpongeBob episode. No, the SpongeBob movie was like, I bet you guys don't last 3 seconds over the county line. Or is it 12 seconds? I don't know the exact number. I'm not exactly a numbers guy. I'm an equations kind of guy. You know what I mean? But that reminded me of that. It's like, you won't last 1 minute in this differential equations class. Well, actually, I lasted 2, and they didn't cover any things about differential equations, so I was good up until that point where I was kicked out. And yeah, so I went back to my room, and then I started doing physics before my physics class, and I realized that this one homework is going to be very difficult. And I ended up finishing it by the end of the day, but it was a struggle. And then I went to my physics recitation class at, 11:30 is when it started. And in that class, I was very lost. I didn't know what I was doing. And that's when I realized I need to get better at physics. So what my teacher did, he brought me to his office downstairs, and I was like, this is scary. This looks like a psych ward. And he gave me this book to look at extra examples in. And I'm going to tell you what. Let's see. Do you think I need to know nuclear fission? That's in this book. There's a chapter literally called fucking lasers. And I think that's cool. I think the fact that I think that's cool makes me a little bit more confident in myself. Because if I don't think this stuff is cool, then what use would I have for it when it gets more difficult and less cool? It has to be cool and then progressively get less cool, but it has to stay above this layer, because if it gets below that, then you just stop giving a shit. And when you stop giving a shit, you start doing things like watching Netflix, not going to class. Oh no, I've done that before. Only once, because I had an exam that day and I was like, I don't want to go to any of my classes. I don't want to study. I just want to watch Big Mouth. And that was when my bed was up there because I had a date the previous night, and then they didn't respond all too well to me. I was probably not that good on that date. No, you know what? They suck. I came to that conclusion very fast. Then my teacher told me I need to spend more this is back to physics, by the way. My teacher told me I need to spend more time on physics. Like, going in for help, making sure I do all the pre-lectures, looking at the book, and then I'll go in for help. However, I went in for help, which was like skipping over 2 steps because I'd already worked on this one problem for so long by myself, and I just was so lost with how to start it. I needed that help. And when I went in there, it was, I don't know, maybe 1, and by the time I left, it was 2, it was almost 3. So I was in there for 2 hours working on one problem. And this guy just, like, I don't think he's seen a problem like this in a long time because he was a TA. He's supposed to, like, know what he's doing. And yeah, he was a TA, and he tried helping me. He did end up figuring it out, but it's like I probably could have figured it out if I had 2 hours by myself instead of, like, if I had a little bit more hints. Maybe I couldn't have, but it's just crazy. It makes me feel better about myself for not being able to solve it on my own if this guy is a graduate student and he can't do it. But then again, he probably would have been better at it when he was taking physics than I am right now, so I need to get up and be better. And after that, it was my Engineering 100 class, in which I listened to a podcast instead of any of my classmates because it was on Zoom, and I was like, oh, I can just hide behind my name right here and no one can see me, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a great presentation, and clap for it. Nah, it's dumb. And I had my math class tonight, and before that I realized, oh, computer science is also super difficult. I don't like computer science that much. I don't think I'm going to be required to take it next semester. So I basically just said to myself, okay, if I can't find it on Shake, then I'll go in for help. But if I can find it on Shake, I'm just going to look it up and basically copy and paste because I don't care. And our teacher doesn't seem like he cares. He's like, oh, don't like it. What else was there? Then I had my math class. I think I may have said that already. But in my math class, I had this thing where, no, I didn't have this thing where nothing special happened. It was just review of an assignment and review of the review for the math test on Monday. And somebody got sick in that class, and my favorite person was not there. My favorite person in that class, not in the world. My favorite person in the world is a dog. So, all dogs. If you combine all dogs into one forever, I'd probably like them more than all people combined. Ever think about that? Anyways, we got quite a bit here in terms of this. So, I'll read the names first. Willie Gallimore, Jerry Lucas, Richard Sherman, Chris Sale, Alex Breckman. And then here's what happened. It's women's basketball, so if I don't sound like I'm interested, I'm just kidding. Women's basketball can be interesting in terms of storylines. Actually, let me say something before I get into reading this. Women's basketball is good. It's not the fact, like, it's fun to see people be competitive and be very good at something. But the thing about women's basketball that makes it unwatchable for me is the same thing that makes college football kind of unwatchable for me. There is such a huge disparity between the top teams and the bottom teams. Creighton this year was a 10 seed and they made it to the Elite 8. That's only the 4th 10 seed ever to make the Elite 8 for women's basketball. And then they got blown out by almost 30 points, I think. That's what makes women's basketball unwatchable. You have a 1 seed versus a 2 seed. That's basically a 1 versus a 1 in my opinion. And oh man, it's so hard to watch. It's not hard to watch. It's hard to watch when it's a blowout and you're like, well, why didn't they just shoot there? Or why didn't that ball just go in? the large disparity makes women's basketball difficult to watch. And when people are like, oh, they don't like watching it because they're sexist, no, I don't like watching it because it's a blowout. It's the same reason why, even though I like Alabama, the thought of Alabama playing Cincinnati, I couldn't watch the whole game because it was boring to me. Hard for me to get into it when everything is so one sided. Anyways, for the second year in a row, Connecticut's women's basketball team loses their first game of the season in the semifinals of the Final Four. In 2017, the Huskies fell to Mississippi State 66-64 in overtime in Dallas. Tonight, Notre Dame topples Connecticut 91-89 in Columbus, Ohio, on a jumper by Arike Ogunbowale from just inside the three-point line with 1 second to go in overtime. Ogunbowale will be the hero again in the championship game on April 1st by connecting on a three-pointer with 0.1 seconds remaining to defeat Mississippi State 61-58. See how they mentioned Mississippi State was in the Final Four and then the next year they were in the national championship? That's kind of crazy. That never happens in men's basketball. Just saying. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for this video. Outro.